All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and honor unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Shalom, peace and blessings to the Akim who go out throughout the four corners of the earth to teach His truth to the hopeful elect. Shalom, the water. So I seen this magazine while I was in line at the store, and I like to buy these, just for reading material, when I need a break from the scriptures and want to continue to learn and edify, and maybe find something that has to do with the scriptures. Might have a little bit to do with history, as well, so we can line up things with the scriptures. So I seen it while I was there, and it just sparked my interest. This is the History Channel's magazine, The Search for Alien Life: Who Shaped Our World. Right. So, with this, you got to spit out a lot of bones, but there was one section that stood out in particular, and it started getting into the scriptures. So it started out with some other stuff, ancient Babylon, the Anunnaki, different things like that, Mesopotamia, all kinds of different stuff. But here it gets into Elijah. This paragraph here is titled Elijah's Chariots of Fire. Right, and I'll go ahead and read some of this. And again, you might have to spit out some bones, but we're going to have the scriptures that line up. And this is just going to show that, this is the scriptures. We're not the only ones that believe the chariots are in the scriptures. They look at us crazy when we start bringing out the fact that the UFOs are actually chariots, the way that the angels and Yahweh Shai travel. And that's how Yahweh Shai is coming back. Believe it or not, Yahweh Shai is who you ignorantly call Jesus Christ. Just for edification's sake. Elijah's Chariot of Fire. The first and second books of Kings relate many things, including the story of the prophet and miracle worker Elijah, leader of a school known as the Sons of the Prophets. When Elijah first appears in the Bible, he confronts Ahab, the seventh king of Israel, who had turned from worshiping Yahweh. Says Jehovah here. The worship of to worship the idol Baal. Through both books of Kings, Elijah wrestles, and as Moses did, with the fact that many people in Israel worship false idols over Yahweh. The first part of Elijah's story that catches the eye of historical extraterrestrial hunters is the way in which Elijah leaves this world in 2 Kings 2 and 3. Right, so we'll go ahead and grab that. 3 through 9. And this is 2 Kings chapter 2, starting at verse 3. And the sons of the prophets that were at Bethel came forth to Elisha, and said unto him, Knowest thou that Yahweh will take away thy master from thy head today? And he said, Yea, I know it. Hold your peace. And Elijah said unto him, Elisha, tarry here, I pray thee, for Yahweh hath sent me to Jericho. And he said, As Yahweh liveth, and as thy soul liveth, I will not leave thee. So they came to Jericho. And the sons of the prophets that were at Jericho came to Elisha. Elisha was Elijah's understudy, and said unto him, Knowest thou that Yahweh will take away thy master from thy head? And he answered, Yea, I know it. Hold your peace. And Elijah said unto him, Tarry, I pray thee here, for Yahweh hath sent me to Jordan. And he said, As Yahweh liveth, and as thy soul liveth, I will not leave thee. Uh, and they too went on. Verse 7, and 50 men of the sons of the prophets went and stood to view afar off, and they too stood by Jordan. And Elijah took his mantle and wrapped it together and smote the waters, and they were divided hither and thither, so that they too went over on dry ground. Now that sounds familiar, right? That sounds real familiar. Um, when Moses, when Yahweh parted the sea for Moses as well, right? And these are things that we don't, we don't have the luxury of getting to see today, these miracles, right? But we know they happen. We believe they happen, So, though we haven't seen yet, we believe, or roughly paraphrasing. And, this was a miracle that happened. And it came to pass with Salaki, and I was also saying, thinking, we're gonna get these powers back. As we get closer to the kingdom, if we be those men, those spiritual powers. And it came to pass when they were gone over that Elijah said unto Elisha, ask what I shall do for thee before I be taken away from thee. And Elisha said, I pray thee, let a double portion of thy spirit be upon me. Right? That's how beautiful and powerful the prophet Elijah was. That Elisha said, let me get a double spirit of that. Why? So that he could continue to do the work of the Most High Power Yahweh, which also Yahweh Shai would do when he came unto the earth. Right? And that's why he wanted a double portion of the spirit, was to continue to lead the Israelites. Right? Not you other nations, you heathens. And he said, thou hast asked a hard thing, nevertheless, if thou see me when I am taken from thee, it shall be so unto thee, but if not, it shall not be so. And it came to pass, as they still went on and talked, that behold, there appeared a chariot of fire and horses of fire, and parted them both asunder. Right? So, Elijah and Elisha were using what they had, the knowledge they had at that time, to explain this, right? So a chariot of fire, there was not a literal chariot like you see in these Roman movies coming in fire. It was literally what you would call a UFO. And horses of fire, like it was powerful, right? And parted them both asunder, and Elijah went up by a whirlwind unto heaven. Now, that whirlwind is what you would call a laser beam, or God, what do they call it? It's the beam that the chariots use to bring forth terrestrial bodies, right? Same way that Yahweh Shai went up. And as we're going to read, I'm going to do another video on Zechariah, right? And Elisha saw it, and he cried, my father, Abba, Abba, the chariot of Israel, and the horsemen thereof. And he saw him no more, and he took his own clothes, and he took hold of his own clothes, and rent them in two pieces. He took up also the mantle of Elijah that fell from him, and went back and stood by the bank of Jordan. Right, so that's that he was beamed up. And that's how the elect are going to be beamed up as well, right? Because the Yahweh Shai is coming back with many angels, right? And Michael the archangel, and they're coming in chariots. And it says 144,000 shall be saved. Well, saved from what? The utter destruction of Babylon, which is coming by these ICBM missiles, right? So these chariots are going to beam up the elect in that same way. But this is just a beautiful story on how Elijah was taken from this earth on a chariot. And I'll finish what this says. He and his apprentice Elisha go to the river Jordan, where Elijah smites the water with his mantle, sending it hither and thither, so the men can cross on dry land. Once they are across, the chariot of fire appears with a whirlwind and takes up Elijah. People at the time may have not had the language or the context to identify a spaceship for what it was. A chariot of fire was the closest they could come to describing. I feel like these people been watching the apostles. Was the closest they could come to describing the site of an alien abduction. The whirlwind that takes Elijah is interpreted by believers in the theory of ancient aliens as tractor beams. Tractor beams, that's what I was looking for. Or other technology possessed by aliens. Again, whirlwind could have been the closest, as close as the people of that time and place could come up to describe the phenomena. So with that, I'm gonna wrap it up. I just wanted to share this with with Akim. It's something I found in my studies, and man, it boosted my spirit. Just knowing that we're not the only ones that believe this. Even these heathens know what time it is. So anyway, shalom.